Welcome, welcome. I think we're going to just take one more minute to get started because we've got a lot to cover. Welcome. I'm seeing some names I know and some new names. Great to see everybody. Welcome, welcome. Okay, let's get started. Hello and greetings to everyone. My name is Marla Rencher, and I am the Director of Technology-Based Programs at TechTown, but more importantly, I'm here to welcome you to the STEEP program application workshop. We're here today to make sure that you have all the information that you need to connect to this wonderful program and to make sure that you understand what's behind it, what's the best way for you to position yourself and make sure that it is something that is a good connection and great thing for you to do. The best way to start that, though, is to kind of talk to the folks who really started to originate those programs. So first, I want to bring to the stage Dr. Tanya Matthews, who is the former Associate Provost at Wayne State University, running the STEM Innovation Learning Center, but who is the newly minted CEO of the International African American Museum. We are so proud to have her here, and she is just about to take the stage and tell you a little bit more about the program, which she was a part of getting started. So go ahead, take it away.
Thank you, Marlo. Dr. Rencher, yes, former and now newly minted CEO of the International African American Museum, because, ladies, that's what happens when you get a squad, okay? So that's why we have this program, so that we can put some more shoulders out there for you to stand on. My background is as a biomedical engineer. I also have some training as an electrical engineer as well, along with, of course, my heart being in African and African American studies alongside that. And maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I was in conversation with someone who you're going to meet right after me, Sharon Madison, and Sharon had sort of this vision and this dream of bringing together a program like this. And I had experience in founding the STEMinista Project, which was getting much younger ladies to think of themselves as being in sort of this STEMmy engineering spaces that use tools and technology. And we came together and worked to create this program, to create a space for us to have these conversations, for us to have this training amongst ourselves, because while there is no denying our genius and how capable we are, there is also denying that there are conversations that we need to have amongst ourselves that our peers who don't look like us and who don't bring to the table what we bring to the table in this space we call America, are having, right? So we need to have these conversations, these skills, these strategies. We also need to see ourselves in these spaces. And, every once in a while, you need someone on your team who will flat out tell you, you're tripping, keep it moving. I see you. I'm still waiting for your business to get off the ground. I opened up our last cohort with a quote from Audre Lorde, and this time I'm going to go Zora Neale Hurston on us. She has one of my favorite, what I call sedity quotes, and she said, it's true, I have been discriminated against. That doesn't surprise me. I simply cannot imagine how anyone who could deny themselves the pleasure of my company. And I think to myself, what would it mean if each of us thought about our businesses and our products like that, which is that every time we went into those meetings and someone didn't get it, or we asked for the support or the funding or the investment, and you simply marveled at how someone would let that train pass them by. What if that was our attitude? In addition to all the learning and the brushing the shoulders off, what if we understood how important what we were bringing to the table was, and was not discouraged, in fact, even more encouraged, when every time we understood that someone might make the accident of living their life without your product. Oh my goodness. And so that's what we're here to create, that level of attitude problem. And with that is where the STEEP program comes from. And so from there, all I will ask of you ladies is one thing: show up. As was mentioned, I am the former provost, so I am no longer officially associated with Wayne State University, but I showed up today because this is important, because you are important, because we are important. And I promise you that if you simply show up, then this is a space that will work for you. And a big part of that is because of the genius and the drive and the legacy and the history that is wrapped up in two words: Sharon Madison. Now she's going to get on the screen and she's going to be very humble. She's going to omit to tell you that her company, while headquartered in Detroit, is international. She might even omit to tell you that she is not even second generation, right? That this is third generation that we're talking about in terms of the work that she's doing and what she is bringing to the table. She may omit to tell you that she probably has anywhere from 12 to 115 mentees running around the city of Detroit singing her praises, because she is not only a genius in her work and her business, she is also incredibly generous of spirit, and wise. And it was my honor to co-develop this program with her. And it is still my honor to be the one that gets to introduce to the second potential STEEP cohort, Sharon Madison.
Oh my goodness. Tanya, I guess I'm just gonna have to go sit down. First of all, it's really so difficult to follow you, and I just want everybody to recognize how significant it is. The new position that Dr. Matthews is undertaking, this amazing place where our ancestors first arrived in this country. Most of them actually came through the port of Charleston. And the museum that she is going to be heading up and navigating and creating, and just it's so powerful and so important to everyone, and not just in this country, but in the world. Because that is the beginning of us. And so I just want to congratulate Dr. Tanya Matthews and her genius, and the fact that Detroit keeps exporting talent all around the world, and yet we still keep creating talent every single day. So thank you for that very generous introduction, Tanya. But let's get to the STEEP program, because I am so excited to be here. First of all, to have such a tremendous intellectual, spiritual, and informational group of people that are creators, mostly women. We have one man that's been working with us, but to create this, Jarrell Harris, and shout out to Jarrell, does fine work. But we have so many wonderful people that you're going to meet. You've already met Dr. Rencher, Dr. Matthews. We also have Don Batts, Teresa Ramirez, Phaedra. Phaedra, forgive me, I just lost your last name, but and Leticia, and so many others that have been working very hard over the last year to create a program that is specific to African American women in technology. And just to give you kind of a background, it's been almost a year since, a little over a year since I first started working on this program, about 13 months ago. I was in Washington, D.C., and speaking to another super African-American woman, Dr. Pamela McCauley, who was working with the National Science Foundation. And I was telling her about how important it was for me at this point in my career to see an expansion of African-American women, specifically as entrepreneurs, and in fields of technology. And so she suggested to me that I pursue a grant with the National Science Foundation. And that is what has now become the STEEP program. And you are fortunate enough to be our second group of women that we are talking to specifically about this program. And, you know, why entrepreneurship? Why technology? I feel very strongly about entrepreneurship. Dr. Matthews just mentioned that, you know, I come from a background of engineers, architects, and planners, and construction professionals. And during most of my career here in Detroit and prior to Detroit, I found myself in a unique position of not having a lot of company as an entrepreneur, and specifically in an area that is traditionally male. And so, you know, all the struggles that I went through, I didn't want other people to have to go through. And so I started really just kind of focusing on what are the things that are really needed to make you successful. What are the kind of challenges that you might have? And also, what kind of things do you actually really need to know in order to be successful as an entrepreneur? And as we all know, the next century is all about technology. And everything that we do has changed so dramatically over the last, you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, let's just say the last year. I mean, did anybody know about Zoom before then? So, you know, the fact that we can have a meeting like this live with literally participants could be here from any place in the world. And so that is where, just an example of what it means to be in a technological world. These businesses are going to increase dramatically, the potential for growth and the potential for wealth. And as a community of people, we as African American women need to understand that through entrepreneurship, we can create wealth, not just for ourselves, but for others. And so, when I was growing up, my father used to tell me that there are three basic reasons to go into business. One is that you have an idea or you have a better way of doing something that is already being done to share with the world. B is to make a fair profit. I mean, business is about profit, but you want to be fair. And so I've always tried to live by that. And the third thing, which I've always found to be very important, is to create opportunities for others. So through your businesses, you will be able not only to create opportunity for yourself and your family, but for your employees, your suppliers, other people. And so that's always been my philosophy, and that's why I'm here today. So I am very excited about the fact that we have some of the finest people in the country here in Detroit that just happen to be African American women that have created this program, that have led the way as it relates to entrepreneurship in the city of Detroit and surrounding areas. And so one of those very spectacular women is Dr. Marlo Rensher, and who you already met earlier. And I want you to know that, that Dr. Rensher is, a unique individual who has been working in this space of African American women entrepreneurship for many, many years. And I'm very, very proud to be associated with her as she has run numerous programs at Techtown. So I've done enough talking about this. This is why we're here. This is how we came about. And I want to just turn this over to Dr. Richard. Marlo.
Thank you very much, Sharon. I think right now, what would be a good thing for us to do is just get into it. Talk a little bit more about what STEEP is, what the opportunity is, and get everybody's questions answered as much as possible. So it's my intention to do that. And I think the first place to start is, I want to make sure, though, before I do that, that you all see this PowerPoint presentation that says STEEP Detroit Partnership. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Just want to recognize that the Julian C. Madison building. So another thing, as Dr. Matthews talks about, Sharon talking about the things and omitting some things, there is a big building downtown that is the Julian C. Madison building. If you've heard of Bamboo being in downtown, that's her building. That's where that's located. So when you see the Julian C. Madison building incorporated around that, that is Sharon's legacy and where she is. Wayne State University is part of this partnership as well, including the STEM Innovation Learning Center. Midwest I-Corps node, that really is the National Science Foundation and its presence at the University of Michigan in the Midwest. They're part of this partnership as well. And of course, Techtown. So one of the things that you will learn through this process is that there is, a network of people who are here because a lot of the businesses that you all could potentially create help to bring opportunities for others. I know when we talk sometimes to folks who are kind of new into getting into business and getting assistance and support for people, they wonder, why are all these people helping out? It's because, as Sharon just mentioned, your efforts help to create opportunity for other people. So when you see politicians and whatnot talking about, we've expanded this number of jobs, they're really talking about your efforts and what you're doing. And that's really what these partners are here to help you do. And so this is the partnership that's involved in STEEP. I think what's really important, though, we learn as much as we can through this process. So we've had one group come in and we're learning from that process. I think what's really, really important for us to start with is kind of what is a tech founder? And so when I talk about what is a tech founder, I'm talking about it because it's vitally, vitally important that it's a shift in terms of owning a business. If you're not in that tech world right now, it is not the same as, as if you're operating, let's say, having a business that's a restaurant or something like that, that's not as technology oriented. What we are talking about giving you, this is what Sharon was talking about. There are not a lot of Black women in the space, and we're trying to expand the pipeline. But this is a different space. If you're not familiar with it, it's a different space than the space that you're in before. So we want to be crystal clear what we mean by a tech founder. People throw those words around a lot, but what do we mean by it? There's a few things that we specifically talk about when we say tech founders. We're saying that tech founders sell things on a platform. Okay, so we're not just talking about platforms that they don't own, like eBay or Shopify. We're talking about, that's part of it. You're having things on a platform, but you're actually owning the platform. So that's what number 2 talks about. Like proprietary software and hardware means that you're not just taking goods and services and selling them on Shopify, or goods and services and selling them on some other platform. We're talking about you as tech founders owning the platform that you're on. So I see Adrian Davis is in the audience. Hi, Adrian, how you doing? So instead of Shopify platform, it would be Adrian Davis's platform. You understand? I just want to make that distinction because we're talking about something slightly different from what we usually talk about. You will also, as a result of owning this platform, you'll have the capability to build or change the platform. You will have specific documented intellectual property. A lot of times people think you got to have a PhD or do this or that to have intellectual property. That's not the case. And we're going to show you how and why you can start creating those intellectual, that intellectual property as part of your business. You have to be built to scale. So tech companies, tech founders are building companies that are not just for their neighborhood. I mean, of course, it can impact their neighborhood. And of course, you know, we want to make sure that we're serving the needs inside our neighborhoods, but those companies are built to scale. So Instagram is not just serving, you know, wherever Instagram came from, it's serving globally. So you are creating these companies that are going to be built to scale. We want you to walk the walk and talk the talk. It's important that you understand that you, yes, you can create a tech company. Don't look at this and think, oh, this is not something for me. This is specifically something for you, and that's why you're here. So let's talk now about what STEEP is. And by the way, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We're going to get to a question and answer portion of this, but you know, definitely if you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll get to them as soon as we can. Okay. So what STEEP is really about you particularly becoming a tech founder. All right. This is a transformation process. So a lot of business programs are out there really focused on transforming that business, getting that business from here to there. STEEP is no different in that sense. We're taking whatever business you have, business idea, established business, something that you thought about a lot and are ready to take to that next level. We're taking that and taking you from here to there, but we're also taking you from here to there. You from here to there. If you don't know yourself as a tech founder, our intention is that you know yourself as a tech founder in the same way that you can easily say, I'm a Detroiter, I'm a Baptist, I'm a vegetarian, whatever it is, you should be able to say without hesitation or stuttering, I'm a tech founder. That is our intent. Okay. And what does that actually mean for us to give to you? We want to help you create your personal story. It always hit me. Somebody was talking about what is it to have, anybody ever heard of imposter syndrome? Just raise your hand. So am I the only one that's ever heard of imposter syndrome? Okay, cool. So good. I have something to teach you today. Imposter syndrome, even if you haven't heard of it, what it is if you've been in a situation and you don't feel like you're adequate for the situation, you feel like I'm a fake, I'm not even a failure, but like I don't deserve to be in this room. The name that we put around that feeling, and often it's a lot of time women who have that feeling because those rooms aren't necessarily created for us. That name is, the name for that feeling is imposter syndrome. All right, so we're here to slay imposter syndrome. We're here to help you create a personal story that explains to you personally and to everybody else in the room why you need to be in that room, why you being in the room makes it a better room. So when you're stepping in as a tech founder, now, as Dr. Tanya Matthews said, you know, this is about why wouldn't you want to be a part of what's here? Because what's here is phenomenal, right? A phenomenal woman, that's who I am. So we're about helping you to create the personal story that you need to bring into every room so that you know you are a tech founder with something fantastic to bring to the table. We're going to help you deeply understand your customer, deeply understand that customer's problem, and then craft a value proposition. And we'll help you understand exactly what we're talking about with that, but a value proposition that really says, okay, I understand your problem and I'm here with something interesting, unique, and valuable that solves that problem. And the way that we get to that is around customer discovery. Customer discovery is something that I want to talk to you about just a little bit right now, because customer discovery is where you're going to spend a lot of your time. Customer discovery is about whatever problem that you're trying to solve with your business, sitting down and talking to people who could potentially be your customers but are not yet. You're going to sit down and talk to them. You're going to talk to as many as 10 of them, as many as 10 of them a week. Sit down and talking to customers and deeply understanding that customer first, the problem from your customer's perspective, and how to create and craft a unique value proposition to the solution that solves that problem. So that's really the focus of that, your time in being with Steve. And really, we're also going to give you the way, the means by which you can build a solution for that problem. Now, how many here already know how to build an app? Just raise your hand. I will assume then that many of you don't. One of the superpowers that you will get out of this program is learning how to build an app. It will be around how to do programming. Not the same as coding, but it is the same as programming. And we even have a very, very powerful boot camp that goes along with that. And so that's the focus of what Steep is. As Dr. Matthews talked about, it's good to be able to create things if you've got a posse, if you've got a crew. So I'm gonna ask my crew, Dr. Dawn Batts, Phaedra, Teresa, is there anything that I haven't covered at a high level? If there's anything I haven't covered at a high level before I go into the application itself.
I think that you have covered everything. The only thing that I would add is that, to echo the sentiments I already shared, this is an amazing team to work with and a ton of expertise that you'll be able to pull from to answer any of these steps. So if any of this seems overwhelming, please know that there's someone to walk with you every step of the way. Like, you are literally given 3 different human beings anytime you're signed on to work with.
Thank you, Phaedra. What a nice way of saying I forgot to mention the fact that you'll have a lot of support. So you'll have an entrepreneur in residence that will be helping you. You'll have an anthropologist, what we're calling a customer discovery specialist, who will help you to get through the interview parts, you know, the whole understand your customer problem. There are people who have studied how to ask questions of people, how to do interviews, and they will help to guide you through that interviewing process. So you're not there talking about, this is what I built, would you like to buy some? That's kind of not what you're trying to do. You're really trying to discover more about the customer. So you will have more support than you probably have experienced, and it concentrated in your business, in your life. Additionally, we have speakers and mentors who have walked through this path already and can help to guide you through it, help to inspire you, and help you to really feel connected to, again, I am a tech founder and this is what I'm here to do.
Marlo?
Please.
I wanted to add one more thing. Hello, everyone. We mentioned a number of times tech founder, and one question that will come to mind if I were in your shoes is, why is it important for me to be a tech founder?
Yes.
And the best formula that I have found to explain that, when you think about identity as a tech founder, plus the technology, plus the intellectual property, that is how you begin to scale. And with scaling comes a different set of capital, or access to capital. This becomes extremely important for us as we're trying to scale. Oftentimes, we don't know where to go, or we don't think there's money available, and that is also true. But when we understand what's being funded and we're already doing the work, then it allows us to step into a different set of resources that can help us do what we're trying to do. So it's extremely important, particularly when we're already doing the work, that we understand what's available to us and then begin to navigate how to get there. We also want to be real clear. This is not about changing who you are. All that we talk about being a founder, is to allow you to be your authentic self in a different space. So we don't want, because we come with our own set of, I think, benefits or things that I would never want to get rid of as a Black woman. And we don't want to get rid of, but we want to know how to step into that in a different space. So that's part of what we talk about when we're talking about becoming a tech founder, and having tech businesses and having that IP.
Thank you, Dr. Batts. I really appreciate that contextualization. Another way of thinking about it is money, power, and respect. Tech founders get more money. They certainly have more power to do what they're doing, and they get a higher level of respect because of that impact, right? And just FYI, Dawn is the capital strategist for the tech team at TechTown. So she spends a lot of her time thinking about how people can get connected to the money that they need to raise things to the next level. I know we have a couple of questions in the chat. What I want to do really quickly is to go through the application and highlight a couple of key questions, and just to make sure that people are really familiar with the application itself. If you go to techtowndetroit.org, on the very first page, at the very top of it, that you could tell this is a priority for us, you will have a link to this application. So here's the application. Everybody's able to see it, I believe. So after you begin the application, there are a few simple things. I'm going to fill this out really quickly, but we asked you for simple things. I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but I do want to highlight a couple of things as I'm filling out the application. As you may or may not know, TechTown is a nonprofit organization. And as a result, we ask for a lot of demographic information because we have funders. All of the things that we're talking about, STEET itself is a free program. So we're not going to be asking you money. And in fact, you have the opportunity to get some resources as a result of being in this program. But because of that, there's some information that they're going to need to ask for from you. They need to know how many people from the city of Detroit are they helping? How many African Americans? How, that type of information. So that's why that information is asked for. So you're going to put in your basic information. If you have a business address, please feel free to put it in. And if you click yes, then it's going to expand and ask for that information. But I will say my business address is the same as my home address. Now, here's where I think, and it's important also to understand that you can always, with this application, save and continue later. You don't have to do it all in one shot, okay? So here's where I want to spend a little bit of time. If you put the current name of your business or product, if you haven't developed a name, hopefully you've put some thought into what it is. But if you haven't had an official name, just put undecided here. It's really important that you describe your current business product or service in a very clear way. My suggestion is that you find a 13-year-old. After you type in your business product or service, read that to them. Find somebody who's completely not connected to what it is you're doing. Read that and then find out what questions that they might have about what you just wrote. And keep doing that until it becomes clear. So don't just type out of your head, because there's some gaps that you know about that when you're typing sometimes, and I read these kinds of applications all the time, sometimes people are typing and they haven't talked to somebody else. And so there's some things that we don't know and that we might not be able to give you a yes about, that if you just think about it a little bit more, you explain this. So you go ahead and put in your, you don't put blah, 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 but I'm gonna put that here. How long have you been a business owner or entrepreneur? It's fine if you don't currently identify as that. You will by the time we're done, and it's fine if you've been that for a very, very long time. Whatever it is, please put it in there. We're going to ask you about your revenue, because how we talk with you and how we potentially coach you would be different if you're generating revenue now versus if you're not generating revenue. Here's a really important thing. One of the distinctions of particularly being a tech founder and definitely being a successful founder is recognizing that you're not an inventor per se. Your goal is not necessarily to be an inventor. You're not just inventing things for the sake of inventing things. You're actually trying to solve a problem. So think about whatever business idea that you have in the form of a problem to be solved. Okay? So you can invent something, but it is inventing it to solve a specific problem that somebody has. Okay? So it's really important and in this box, don't describe what you're doing. Don't say, hey, I have this great idea for a wearable, or actually for a service that picks up children with a self-driving car and takes them to their appointments. You talk about the problem for busy moms or busy parents, it's difficult for them to coordinate their children's activities. And it's also difficult to trust somebody with their kids. So the self-driving car could potentially solve those things. All right, so it's not just a reiteration of this is what I'm doing. This is the problem that I'm solving. And again, I would suggest you read this to somebody and ask, am I identifying a problem? And then am I solving it? Those are two really good questions to ask. I think it's important to talk about this part too. Have you developed something that's completely new and unique that you could potentially patent? Is this something that you have like a physical product that now you're going to be trying to sell completely online? When we talk about a tech product or service, we want to just get real clear what you are meaning when you say a tech problem or service. Which one of these options? I've developed my own software, a web-based platform. I've created a digital product that I'm selling exclusively online. I've created a physical product that I'm selling exclusively online. I have a physical product that I'm selling both online and in a store and in pop-up retail locations, or other. If you click other, again, you're going to have to just solve that. I mean, say a little bit more about that. Now, describe the potential customers whose problems product or service will solve. Here's another thing. Don't say everybody. Okay? Think more critically about who could be solved. Like, so for the problem I just talked about solving, like a self-driving car that drives your kids to their appointments, the problem would then be for working parents who are, particularly those who have to be at a particular place, like they're not remote. The people who are most going to be interested in your product or service are going to be the working parents, typically who are specifically have to be somewhere when they're working. And definitely people who have more than one child or a child or whatever. So just try to get as specific as possible in terms of whose problem that you're trying to solve. Have you spoken to any potential customers? We really, really value the customer discovery process, the interviewing potential customers. If you started to do that, that's good. And if you have, talk about who you've talked to. It's not necessary that you have to have a big team. If you're working by yourself, that's a legitimate answer. If you're working with a co-founder, and if you're working with 3 or more people, just indicate which one of those are. we're really interested in what you're interested in gaining from this program. So that's an important thing. Like, what do you think you can get from this program? Because we want to make sure it's a really great fit. Part of what you will get from the program, if it's a good fit for you, is we want to talk about our participants as much as possible. So we're asking about, your links, things like that, because we'll be putting that information out there to the extent that it makes sense for us to do that. Another thing is the program itself is 3 hours a week for 15 weeks. That's just the program itself. It is in the evening. Right now we're doing it Thursday evenings from 5 to 8. So 3 hours a week for 15 weeks is just the program itself. As we mentioned, there's interviews that you would have to do with potential customers. So that you would add a couple of more hours per week. If we're saying 10 interviews a week, we're talking about a specific, the interviews don't have to be a whole hour, but you have to also kind of think about the time in calling people up, them saying no, calling other people up, them saying no, and then finally getting somebody who will actually get on the phone with you. So all these things will take even more time per week. I could tell you specifically how many hours it will be, but for some people, it's really hard to get in touch with their customers. For some people, it's a lot easier. But don't think just because I'm going to this church function or just because I am doing this or that, that's something that's going to be very easy for you to do. So I want you to keep in mind that the commitment for the things outside of class is significant and probably is more than 3 hours. So you just have to kind of keep that in mind throughout. The rest of this application asks you for more demographic information. And I just wanted to really focus on these questions, which are the ones that we're going to ask you. And we're going to ask you kind of specific demographics, again, because we're a nonprofit organization and we want to figure out who we're serving because we have funders that we need to report that information to. So that's the basic information about the application itself. Let's go into any questions or any questions that anybody has. And then we have some things in the chat. Okay, I will look.
Dr. Richard, while you're looking at that, I just wanted to say to everyone, there's a huge emphasis on customer discovery. And why is that? All right, well, I've been in business for 40 years and I still need to discover new customers. And so the ability and the skill set to be able to do that is a big emphasis of this program, because no matter what level of business you're in, it's all about the customer. It's all about what's needed. And just to give you an example, some people know that Botox was originally discovered for an eye disorder. And then it became a cosmetic. That's where they made billions of dollars in cosmetics. The internet was the US Department of Defense discovered that only to communicate with computers internally. And now look where it is. Nobody really even envisioned that. So, you may have a product that you think is for one direction, and through your customers, you'll find out what the need is. I just wanted to say that.
Perfect, thank you. Actually, that works really well because somebody asked, can an individual who has an app and process a build up, can they still receive assistance to complete this build out? That's a really good question. One of the things I would say is the customer discovery piece is so critically important that we're, what may happen, the people who are in this program go through customer discovery. What might happen through you having a deep conversation with customers is that what you're building may need to change. So we're here to give support for the people who are going through this process, but just understand that this customer discovery process happens first for a reason. And typically we talked about a transformation of you're here and you're going to get there. So it's not a situation where you're here and nothing's going to change and we just help you stay here. You're here and talking to customers. You're here talking to people who walked through this path before. You're here, and things are going to change. So it's very likely that the app that you planned might be very different from what your customer actually needs. If you've done 100 interviews and you've already done all the customer discovery, then wonderful. We can just find a way to kind of it might even be the case that this is not the program for you, and we can find another way to work through and help you work it out. But just, I guess the way to answer that question from my perspective is that it is likely that things are going to change. We also have gotten a lot of feedback from people who've gone through the program that it's that customer discovery that helps save them a lot of money, because they would have built something that didn't connect with the audience they were trying to connect to. Another question. Okay, go ahead.
I totally agree with you. And that's why I understand what you're saying with the expertise from other individuals that build out maybe something more universal, that can be, have intellectual properties that can scale up the business or the software, or to critique it a little bit better for that particular customer, in other words.
Yes. And who was that just spoke? Was that Rhonda?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, yes. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
So Karen Knox, what if the business is currently a community business or a nonprofit? We are building this for for-profits. So what I would say is that community businesses, it is the case that some for-profits have some nonprofits have generated for-profits. Like, I believe, was it Google? Came out of Stanford, I think. Yeah, so it could be the case that, I mean, we are developing this for profits, but just understand that there are business models where, nonprofits specifically have some kind of for-profit product or service, but just understand that, this is built for profits. And absolutely, Josie, Dr. Dawn Bass is the bomb. And when did the classes start? I'll be out of the country from May to late June. That's about when the classes, and we kind of think of them more as sessions than classes. You all will be learning a lot, but there's a lot of action and activity. So it won't be the same as a regular, like class. So Valina asked about the applications, but we submitted, not sure if you received it. I did send an email to okay. So Valina, we can double check on that for you. How many candidates are you accepting into the program? Adrian Davis asks. Our goal is to get 25 into this program. Please don't let that goal be a stop for you. We want to get as many applications as possible because, there's always the potential to help people in other ways and in other iterations. Our business is not necessarily a tech company, but has a STEM component, but not the main focus. Is that fit the model of STEEP? What we're trying to do is create businesses that fit that. You remember the whole proprietary platform, intellectual property. So our intention is to create tech companies. So I'm not sure if that answers the question in the way that you needed it to be answered, but it is around creating tech companies, and so that would be our focus. Which is not, we'll have to know a little bit more about your company to know whether or not it would fit into that direction, but hopefully, if you want to talk a little bit more about it, you can feel free to unmute and ask the question. This is for Patrice Cheeseman.
Hi, yeah, it answered my question. So I appreciate it.
Okay. Does anybody have any Other questions? Feel free to speak. We really, really want to see as many people as possible where this is a fit to go through this process.
Should I text it my question or should I just talk my question?
Please talk your question.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sharita Jordan. I've been a lab tech for over 40 years. I wanted to open my own phlebotomy school and offer that service. Would that be considered technology?
So, Sharita, I'm glad you asked that question. I think that while obviously there's a science component to what you're talking about,
Yes.
the question is about how you want to develop it, right? So, and I say that like Uber is really a taxi cab company.
Right.
But they have their platform though that you can use on your phone. You can see when the thing is coming and it allows for payments. So that's what makes it a tech company. So what would make it a tech company is if you're trying to scale. So you're not just trying to serve your neighborhood. You're figuring out, okay, how can I make a scalable business?
Yes.
And so you don't have to even know how that's going to happen. But if that's your intention, we can help you.
I've run into so many lab techs, nurses, physician's assistants throughout my journey, and even really recently, that really want to get the skill down, but they fail to get the skill down, whether it's mental or because it's a lot of fear there, you know, with putting a needle on somebody's arm. I've been doing that. I was a supervisor for quite a long time, and I've been doing it for over 40 years. And I am an expertise in it. And I know when people make mistakes and really, you know, not doing it properly. And I just want to offer that. And I don't know if I could offer that online because I would want to be the best online class in that. And I don't know. I'm just asking.
So what I would say is that there obviously is a class that you could do online that would serve people all across the country and all around the world potentially.
Yes.
There's also a way in phlebotomy. I mean, all I know is tomorrow I got my COVID shot scheduled. I hope it all works out well. So I only know it from the receiving end. But I'm just wondering if, given your experience, there's any kind of simulation, any kind of real experience that you could provide over a platform that goes beyond a class. These are questions that that are talking about what you could potentially serve. I mean, a service that you could potentially provide. What Steep could teach you to ask is, what's the problem that we're solving? Right.
The inability of people not doing the phlebotomy properly. I just ran into it at my doctor's office. I had a doctor's visit. I run into it constantly, and people are not taking it seriously. When you get your blood drawn, you don't want to be left with a hematoma, bruises and problems and arm hurting and this, that, and the other. And I see it so much, and I know there is a need for people to be able to know how to do it properly and without being fearful. And it's just terrible out here, you know.
So we can help you to articulate what the pain is, like the problem. You know, there might be X number of dollars of potential liability that can happen from people not doing it properly. There might be a specific technique that you use to show people how to do it properly. All those things are things that could potentially be put on a platform and scaled. And so whether we're talking, somebody in the chat talked about an animation studio, it's not even much about the type of thing that it is. as much it is the way that you do it. So we talked about having your own platform. We're talking about having something that has some intellectual property to it. So if you have a specific technique, we need to create a way for you to do that technique that is specifically yours, your special sauce. You have it in your head. What Steve is about is saying, okay, I have it in my head. How can I take it out of my head? Because if I have it in my head, I'm the only one that can help with this, right? So if I take it out of my head, I can own this thing, but make it a platform and it can serve millions rather than just the people that I'm able to impact now. So really, that's what Steve is about. Like, how can I take it out of my head, not give it away, but package it in my own platform and have it impact millions rather than tens or hundreds.
Yes.
So that's really, so whether or not whether it's an animation studio, whatever it is, that's really what we're focused on.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm on a lot of phlebotomy sites and I be seeing the same problems. And I want to be a person out there that can actually show people and explain to them how this needs to be done the first time and every time.
Yeah, I'm glad you're already on your customer discovery journey, right? You're already starting to talk to people, and that's fantastic. So thank you, Sharita. I appreciate that opportunity to talk about it. Hopefully other people got something from that. Rhonda, I don't think there are any students on the call, but I will say that I put something out there on LinkedIn and a couple of students have responded. So, maybe if you want to connect with me, then that's certainly something I can do. I'm going to get to Amir and then Vicky. So Amir, you're curious about the proprietary software piece. She's looking to provide a service to help small businesses automate their businesses and processes using software that already exists. You consider it tech because it centers around process improvement, automation, and workflow. So I would say that while the software that already exists might exist, the way that things are automated might not exist, Amir. So what you can own, let's say, is the way that, QuickBooks might interact with an automated process. So hopefully you understand what I'm talking about with this. Like the thing that you have in your head, you can take it out of your head.
Okay. I think I got you. Okay, thank you.
Tell Rich I said, hey.
Will do.
And so somebody raised their hand. It was Vicky Reese.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent. How are you doing?
Pretty good. First of all, I want to thank you, all of you. I've been in the automotive and biochemistry industry for like 30 years. And it's, we're alone in a lot of the things that we do. So I don't get to see a lot of African-American women or men in the industry. So thank you for this forum. One of the questions I do have is that since I've been in the automotive industry as a material engineer and sitting in on different meetings with different suppliers coming in with different just ideas and things like that, I'm trying to see if what I want to do is a service or be a supplier, because I know that in the industry, they do have an area where African-American, well, just minority women especially, can actually produce their products and, sit before people. So I'm trying to see if I fit in this type of category as far as your forum is concerned.
What I would say.
Okay, go ahead.
What I would say is that it depends on what it is you're trying to do. Like if it's your goal to be a supplier of rear windows,
or something like anything,
some commodity,
right?
it's not some commodity and you're trying to build a manufacturing piece. I don't think that this is that perfect fit.
Okay.
That being said, if you're, having an enterprise customer is a very legitimate thing and actually something I would recommend. Like when you're thinking about who your customers are,
okay.
When I say tech founders, tech isn't some of the more successful tech companies have businesses as their customers.
Right. Right.
So you would have to do the interviews with the people inside of those businesses that are doing the buying.
Correct. Correct.
But if you're just talking about, like I said, a rear window or this piece of stuffing, then that's not what we're talking about.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. I do have another. Okay, go ahead.
If you are talking about rear windows, there's somebody else that can do a rear window.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, anything that usually with the suppliers, you just pick a component and you're able to, sell it. But no, I do have some other ideas that I just really want to make. I don't know if it's because I'm a material scientist. It's actually making something and for African American women, and it may not be just tech, but it's actual product. So
okay.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear about something. When I say anybody can do a rear window, I'm not saying that you can't do it. All I'm saying is that if you're going to do something, it's best to have something that you have intellectual property on, so you're not competing just based on price. And Dawn is referencing Jewel Burke Solomon. Can you talk a little bit more about what we're saying with her?
I was going to let you do that, but when you were talking about the intellectual property, and even in the automotive or an industry that may seem very traditional, if you look at Jewel Burke Solomon, which took the problem of this whole idea of parts and how do we organize and get parts that we need when we want them. So there's one thing to supply, it's another thing to solve that problem in a way that she used it to make it not effortless, but easy, using technology to facilitate that through a platform. So if you have a chance, look her up, and it'll give you an idea of some of the or an example and some of the thoughts that we're trying to share here.
Yeah, because where I used to work, they called it the MacGyver lab. So we were always, twisting, developing, making things a little bit better. So definitely, yeah, I can definitely look her up. Thank you.
Yeah, and also be clear, you have the profile. So make stuff, don't just copy stuff. Please go ahead and do the bigger thing.
Okay.
And we can help. We can help with that.
Okay, thanks. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you so much.
Sure. Does anybody have any other questions?
Marla, I just wanted to offer up just one thing, because that relates to two questions that were asked in this whole concept of, what's tech. This is really a STEM grant. We're utilizing technology, but one of the things, program, but one of the things that I'm aware of is that Ed Welburn, who used to be head of engineering and design at General Motors, and actually, is a brother that brought them back through really brought General Motors back by his design. So, he and I were talking one day, and I had this idea about animation in motivating young people through animation. And most people don't know that Ed actually designed the Transformers for the Transformer movies. He, he's automotive designer, but, he did the Transformers, and so we were talking about this, and, the whole issue about animation, because there's not a lot of animation studios around here. And there's also, part of the need in the marketplace is there a need in the marketplace because there's just not enough of, or a different take. And so, you know, he was telling me that he had a very difficult time keeping animators, because that's how they design cars now, through animation. And, you know, there are many applications that are still yet to be used. And he was saying that, you know, he couldn't keep animators because they were all going to the movie studios, you know, for the autos. So, I mean, a different type, that's where customer discovery, also, there may be areas where there is underserved. The market is underserved. There's just not enough of, or there's a different take. So, you know, so everybody should, you know, kind of think openly in you know, about this in terms of how you approach it. As Marlo said, it is very important. It's not necessarily what the product is, it's how you approach it. And so just, you know, just keep that in mind.
Actually, I think since we run out of questions, and Sharon, I believe you're going to be closing us out with the word. Yeah.
I just, you know, I'm just, again, you know, I'm very excited again with this new group. You're the second group that we are starting under this program, and the leadership of, you know, all the people that you've spoken to today who have presented and asked questions or managed this whole process. I want to thank all of you for being here, and those of you that have actually put this together. And I just want you to just remember, you know, Dr. Matthews started out with quotes. So I'm, you know, I always end up with Maya Angelou because hers are endless. And one thing that she said is that there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. So, you know, your business is one of your untold stories. And I would just say that another thing that she said, nothing will work unless you do. So this, you know, requires work. We're not soft pedaling that, but the rewards will be enormous if you put the work in. So we want to thank you for being here. And we encourage you to submit applications and share this with others, because you know, this is a very unique opportunity, and we thank you all for being interested in it. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everybody. April 12th is the deadline. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you all.